Several levels down from the ventilation plant, Osmark reached his next stop. With a wave of his hand, another steel blast door swung open on silent hinges, revealing a stark white hallway, which connected to a darkened chamber. The security guard was halfway out of his chair before he recognized Osmark.
"I didn't know you were coming today, sir,"
the man said with a sheepish grin.
"Relax, John," Osmark said. "I'm just making the rounds."
His last stop had been all about cooling things down, but this room was for heating things up. OLED panels lined the walls, each displaying information about a critical subsystem. The center of the far wall was what drew Osmark's attention, though, because it gave a readout of the whole system at a glance. That display had a tiny pictogram representing the salt mine at its top. A thick tube led from the mine down to the Earth's vast darkness, the mine's geothermal well. It descended more than 10 miles below the Earth's surface to a vast lake of superheated pressurized water. That water, heated to almost 500 degrees Fahrenheit, was pumped up to the power plant under intense pressure. The steam generated turned turbines, which generated electricity. As the water cooled, it flowed back to the lake that provided it. The closed loop was efficient, nearly perfect. It would keep electricity flowing until the end of time, powering the overmined servers which ruled Viridian Gate Online. The central display was a solid shade of blue, telling Osmark everything was running as expected.
"Of course it is," he whispered to himself. "I made it."
Satisfied, he turned and left, waving goodbye to John for the last time. He headed deeper into the earthen bunker, past the food stores and clean water wells, the housing quarters for the transition team, and the drone vaults. The drones were Osmark's final project. After Estrella did its dirty work and debris stopped falling from the sky, the bunker's artificial intelligence units would direct the drones to the surface. There, they'd clear away rubble and debris from the entrance, just in case one of the mine's residents needed to head outside. But, more importantly, the drones would be able to deploy a sophisticated solar cell system once the atmosphere shed the worst of Estrella's pollution. Those cells would allow the drones to recharge on the surface, so they could continue exploring the dead world left behind. Osmark paused, rubbing his suddenly sweat-slicked hands over his pants. There was one last area to check before he made the plunge. The servers themselves, buried in an area the staff jokingly referred to as the underworld. No one liked to go down there. Not the techs, not the engineers, not the guards. And if Osmark were honest, he'd include himself on that list. Still, this was the most important check, the one the whole world of Viridian Gate Online rode on, and he couldn't put it off any longer. Reluctantly, he made his way down the catwalk to a stainless steel elevator, which plunged even deeper into the earth. When the elevator door dinged open, the trio of guards standing at attention didn't apologize for pointing their weapons in Osmark's direction. It wasn't until the lead guard recognized Robert that he motioned for the others to relax.
"One last check, sir?"
The guard, a whip-thin man named Marcus, asked.
"Better safe than sorry,"
Osmark said, giving the men each a nod as he passed them. The black door they were guarding had no handle or lock. A single glowing green panel marked its center. Osmark placed his palm on it and spread his fingers wide to give the sensor a clear view of his prints. Red light flashed in each of his eyes, scanning his retinas and confirming his identity. Without a sound, the door vanished into the wall. Osmark licked his lips. He wasn't afraid, not of a machine he'd helped create. But he couldn't hide his apprehension. What he'd accomplished here wasn't just a feat of technology. It was miraculous. And that made him just a little nervous. The black box was 10 yards on a side and 5 yards tall. It looked like a chunk of polished obsidian resting on the salt floor. Thick cooling tubes descended from the ceiling to connect to the box's sides and top, like metallic umbilical cords. The faint whooshing of forced air was the only sound inside the sacred chamber. Osmark approached the room's only other object, a black monitor resting on top of a short pillar. When he stopped in front of it, a low mechanical voice droned.
"Hello, Robert."
The monitor flickered to life, displaying a dizzying array of charts and graphs. None of them were labeled, because no one would ever see this screen other than Robert. He knew what each line and bar graph meant. He understood intimately what every colored pixel was telling him. This was an overview of the world he created.